Following is a special edition of the Weekly Outlook podcast in celebration of the 150th anniversary of Alexander City.
Welcome to the Weekly Outlook. I'm Caitlin Fleming, Managing Editor for Tallapoosa Publishers. Today we feature a portion of Peggy Jackson Wall's 1998 interview with Sim Wilbanks on the history of the railroad in Alexander City and its impact on the area.
The railroad brought business, recreation, and change. The little town developed by the railroad as promised by Young, but not until the Civil War ended. A famous war general, E.P. Alexander, played such an important role in getting the railroad completed that the name of the town was changed from Youngsville to Alexander City as a tribute to him. The first train arrived on Wednesday, June 24, 1874. Local lawyer and banker Sim S. Wilbanks worked as vice president for the Southern Railway. He maintained an office in a boxcar, traveling with the railroad to conduct business.
Due to the railroad moving in, that enlarged our town because we had ways to get in and out. And they made a great contribution. The city wanted to clean up and get rid of the depot that ran right down the middle of town. It was an eyesore. And we had a new president, and we talked him into moving the depot.
Alexander City grew up like most other small Alabama towns did around the railroad. The railroad came through from Opelika on to Talladega in 1874, and that's what really started the growth around Alex City. Hotels would grow up around, right around the railroad tracks, warehouses that would hold the freight for the railroads, and stores. And the streets in Alexander City really grew along that railroad track.
Around the railroad, businesses grew with the town. Enterprising families such as the Hirschfelds, Frozens, Cohens, Lamberths, Graves, Dobbs, Reverend Nunn, and the Bulwares contributed to the town's economic growth.
The Savannah and Memphis Railroad was completed from Opelika to the east side of Tallapoosa River at Sturtevant in 1872. The next year, the people of Youngsville were so hopeful about the extension of the tracks into town that they went ahead and renamed Youngsville after the president of the railroad, Edward Porter Alexander. A year later, on June 24, 1874, an excursion train pulled into Alexander City full of dignitaries and special visitors. And of course, the tracks were lined with excited citizens to celebrate the inauguration of the city's rail service. President William Taft even traveled by rail to Alex City in 1909. The depot itself had several different structures over the years, originally located in probably what's the middle of Broad Street now. It was rebuilt there after the 1902 fire, and the depot moved to the other side of the track some years later and was last in the location of a current fire department building downtown.
Thanks for joining us for the special edition of the Weekly Outlook. To be notified when we upload our next episode, like the podcast on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can support the Weekly Outlook by subscribing at alexcityoutlook.com/subscribe, or click the listener support link below.